Welcome to Perspectives in Adventist Education. I'm your host, Stephen Brawley, Director of Secondary Education and Accreditation at the North American Division. Adventist education started in the late 1800s and has grown to operate programs from early childhood, elementary, secondary, and university levels, becoming the largest Protestant private school system in the world. Our graduates have become prominent thought leaders in all fields. Yet, few outside of the system know who we are and what we do. This series will seek out current voices to share how we are facing educational questions with an Adventist perspective. Let's join Debbie Michel, Director of Communication for the Lake Union Conference and the editor of the Lake Union Herald, as she speaks with Betty Nugent on why STEM matters in Adventist education.
So, Betty Nugent,
Yes.
Florida Conference. It is such a privilege and honor to meet you. And so, just tell us a little bit about yourself for those who may not be familiar with the Dr. Betty Nugent.
So I work for the Florida Conference Institute for Leadership and Innovation. There's a commitment by the Florida Conference that Seventh-day Adventist Christian education should be on the cutting edge of everything. And so our institute, we call it facility, our Institute for Leadership and Innovation, we have a team, we go into the schools, we have training sessions to help our teachers to know all about innovative teaching practices, everything STEM, and I'm married. I have, my husband, though, is retired. So that lets you know how old we are. So I have time to do that. I can travel around. We have 2 children who don't live with us. They have their own lives, their own families. So I consider it an honor and a privilege to be able to go into other people's classrooms and help them to know all of the fun things that their kids can be doing while they're learning all the standards that they need to learn.
And I can concur that it is fun.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to just kind of look over your shoulder when you were doing a demonstration.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, you make learning fun. You really do.
Oh, praise God.
Yeah, and so you mentioned the word cutting edge. And so I want to just, stay with that for a little bit, because one of the things that we think about with STEM, and preparing students for these future industries, why is this important for us to do?
Oh, serious. So if we go back, we could go back even further, but we are going to start with, I believe it's 2009. The president at the time commissioned a committee to actually go and study to see what needs to happen with education so that our children in the United States of America could compete worldwide.
This is a Florida Conference president.
No, this is the Conference of the United States of America.
Gotcha.
At the time, I believe it was Barack Obama.
Okay.
But what the committee came out with was that there were 3 things that needed to happen. One of those things that needed to happen was that teachers in schools, especially elementary school, need to have the training necessary to be able to provide the STEM-focused content to be able to help the students realize, hey, this is something that my teacher is doing and it makes sense according to what my teacher is doing, and they're comfortable with it, because a lot of times teachers are not very comfortable in elementary school with some of the STEM subjects, some of the STEM topics,
It's a STEM
related. Yeah, so that's one thing, is that he wanted to make sure elementary teachers are competent in the STEM subjects, okay? And the second thing he wanted to make sure of is that you had opportunities, STEM education, career opportunities available for especially underserved populations, and to make sure that there were career opportunities in STEM available for women. Okay. And so for that to happen, they made all of these recommendations. So when our research, we said, hey, we want to make sure that that happens in the Florida Conference too. And so what we've been doing is we've been doing research. Our project-based learning is our focus, is that we take project-based learning and we put it into the classrooms, and we give training for our teachers in the summertime during the school year. We come into their classrooms and help them with it. And then we take the project-based learning and we say, okay, so now we know what we're doing. We want to do that with STEM focus, and we want to do that with technology. We focus on the engineering design process. We make sure that as they're doing the PBL units, project-based learning, the PBL units, that there is math in the units that are related to language arts, that there is science in the units that's related to Bible, that there's, you're going across the curriculum, across the grade level. And this is pre-K all the way up to grade 12. So that's what we do.
And so I want to get into some examples of how you actually can get music or math or, language arts. But before we do that, and, I think it might be necessary for us to just do a little bit of, STEM. It is science, technology,
engineering, and
math, for those who may not know.
Right. And the idea of it is that it's STEM education, is the focus on science, technology, engineering, and math in the classroom, but across the curriculum. People think that it's just a focus on science classes and technology. No, it's how can we, that's our question, how can we put STEM in everything and focus on STEM in everything, so that little girl who thinks that she can't multiply, how can we make sure that she understands the necessity of multiplication and that she can use whatever it is? And I know you said we're going to do examples later, but that's our goal, is for that young man who says, I know how to code, but I don't like language arts, and I don't need to have any of the humanities because I can already do math or I can already do science. No, our focus is to make sure that all of the students see how everything works together. And that's what STEM education is. It's STEM education across the curriculum, so that when our students graduate, that they are ready to take on anything in college, in life, that's all things STEM.
Okay. So you've given us, a little bit of some of the examples, but I want to go back a little bit and get this in a personal manner, because this is something whereby you have invested your life in this. And I'm just curious, because you are one of those folks, when I look at you, female, African-American, one of those underrepresented groups in STEM. And I can say that I'm someone as well who shares those same characteristics with you, and I never felt called to do something STEM. I want to know a little bit about how you felt that this is something that you wanted to be involved with. Take us back to how this got started.
So I just had a flash that when I was in middle school, the teacher, because of how I looked and because of my zip code, my math teacher did not think that I could do math. And so every day she would find something wrong with everything that I did. And so I had a hard time with math, even though the test scores said that I should be able to do it. But she didn't want me in her classroom. And so I had deficiencies. And no matter how hard I tried when I got to high school, because of those deficiencies from Algebra 1, which, by the way, Algebra 1, if you want to see what the research says also, is that if you want to see a measure of whether or not a student will finish college in 4 years, see how well they do in Algebra 1. And that's just Algebra 1 in 1 year. They do Algebra 1 in 1 year, and they do well. That child is more likely to graduate from college in 4 years.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, I didn't do well, but I graduated from college in 4 years. Because in my freshman year of college, I had a teacher who said, "Oh, you're majoring in history? You're majoring in history pre-law? So you want to be in the social sciences regardless of what you do in your life, even if you're not a lawyer?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "So what you need to do is you need to take more math classes." Boom, boom, boom. Here I am, got kicked out of math when I was in junior high school, and he's telling me I need to take more math classes in college. So I did. Every semester I took a math class. I got better and better, but it was still a challenge for me. But I graduated with a math minor because I had so many classes. So when I did, the Lord did say, you need to go and teach. I ended up with math certification, and I found myself teaching. I did not want to teach math. I wanted to teach history. I wanted to teach political science. I wanted to teach language arts, anything. But the Lord kept saying, no, you're going to teach math.
So
And
pause.
yeah, that's
Someone
how it
who
started.
had deficiencies in math,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
what did it take for you
Mm-hmm.
to then get to the point whereby this is something that you love so much, that you're taking so many classes, that you're graduating with a minor? What
I
happened?
didn't like it I still didn't like it, and I didn't like it because it was so hard. I had to have tutors. I had to have friends to help me out to get through college because I was determined to have. I didn't need them to graduate. I just wanted them. And people would say, "Why don't you just not do it? Just do your major." I said, "No, I am going to take a math class every semester," and I
You're one of
pretty
those
much
students.
did. Yes, I'm one of those. But so I did graduate, but when I started teaching, even though I wanted to teach those social studies classes and language arts classes, and eventually when I came to the church, I wanted to teach Bible classes because of the math certification, which I didn't ask for. I ended up teaching math, and I found that there were students who, not because they got kicked out of math classes, but I found that there were students like me when I was in school who thought that they couldn't do math, and it was hard for them, and their teachers couldn't help them. So I did research and more research, and helped had the opportunity to develop a hands-on learning program. And my dissertation when I worked on my doctorate was how multi-grade students can learn math using a hands-on approach. And yeah, that's how I ended up doing it and then there were people who are very close to me, especially girls who are very close to me. My own daughter, nieces that had trouble with math, and I just wanted stuff to be able to help them. And so we would have math workshops in my living room in the summertime. We would have summer camps where we did math. We did math summer camps. We did STEM summer camps that in my living room, and when I was principal at my school, just because I wanted the kids to be able to do it and not feel bad about it,
You saw that it was something that was possible,
Yes.
and you wanted to make sure that those people around you
Yes.
were able to not have those same deficiencies,
Yes.
which quite often, as you're saying, in terms of kids who are poor, rural kids, kids of color, usually there is that deficiency
Yes.
in those STEM-related programs, which are, those are the jobs for the future. Those are the higher-paying
Yep.
careers.
Yep.
And so you can see how it is preventing, certain groups from moving forward. So then I'm curious to know, so you start doing all of this, with, people around you. You get to the classroom.
Yeah.
Project-based learning, because I watched you with the robots and what you were doing. Tell me about it. How do you make STEM interesting and exciting that the student will want to say, I'm learning all these different subjects?
Okay, so let me do To Kill a Mockingbird for an example. A lot of people don't like the book To Kill a Mockingbird, but it is one of my favorites to teach. And when I say teach, I actually teach the book with
in
my
your
juniors
STEM class?
my junior English class,
Gotcha.
language arts.
Okay.
So we take one quarter where we do the students read the book. We read it aloud. It is a unit that we have developed, but they read the book To Kill a Mockingbird, and they read it in groups. They read it. They read it with me. They read it with the class, but we read it aloud. They're taking notes while they're reading it. I'm just going through a unit very quickly. They read it. And as they're reading it, they're developing questions. They're doing character analysis. They're going through all of the plot model. They're doing through everything as they're reading it because they know at the end of it that they're going to have to come up with a way to help somebody else be able to appreciate the story. So that's the traditional language arts approach to it, okay? All right, so when we are pretty much done with it, then what the students have to do is that they have to then draw the city of Macon. And if you know anything about To Kill a Mockingbird, the city of Macon is a fictional but not fictional town that's actually in Alabama where all of these racist things happened back in the day. And so they have to draw, and they have to draw on the map. They have to put the location of everything. So we got art. We got math because the dimensions have to be accurate, okay? We have the engineering design process that they're having to do because everything, they have to go through the process to go back over it, to edit it. Then they have to write a script that goes along with what their characters are going to do. And then they have to do a voiceover of the script. Oh, I forgot to tell you, they use a little robot called Ozobot. And they have to code the Ozobot to travel through the town of Macomb, through all of the events that they have selected from the book that they're going to illustrate, and the script and the voiceover. Then they have to record it all, video record it, not themselves, but they're video recording the Ozobots, however many they decided to use, reenacting the whole book, or however much they've chosen from the book to reenact. And then we post it on YouTube, or we show it before a live audience. They have to actually show it before 3 different people, 3 different groups of people, and give each other feedback. And that's just one unit that I do with my juniors.
I'm just imagining it. And I mean, for those who may be trying to figure out in terms of this Ozobot, this is this small, like, handheld,
fits in your hand.
Right, that you program that will be going to the different places in Macon that you've just mentioned for To Kill a Mockingbird, where the characters, I guess, went to.
Yes, where they have to go to the jail, they have to go to the courthouse, they go to, and then and then they'll go through the scenes that happen at the courthouse, and they dress the Ozobot up. So that's what it's across the curriculum. Every subject is within that one unit.
Right.
But the focus on that is the engineering design process in my language arts class.
Yes. So I want to hear what do the students say? What are the reaction that you hear?
They say, well, because I put them in groups, and that's because I'm PBL, like I said, all things PBL as well for me. So I put them in groups very carefully, and I make sure that in every group that you have an artist. Because at our school, what we do is we try to find out what their strengths are. So I have someone who likes art in there. I have someone who likes technology in there. I have someone who different what their gifts are. I have someone who likes to read or write, has those literary gifts in there, so that everybody's not doing the same thing at the same time. And I teach the coding. As much as they need to be able to do it. Some of the kids have already had Mr. Henley's innovation class. He's my coach, my partner, co-teacher, however you want to call it. But he's our innovation teacher. So the kids who have already had his class for innovation, they do a whole lot better. They do a whole lot more advanced things. But I teach them enough coding that they need to do it, and then they just go wild with that. They have fun decorating it. They have fun making the background, the scenes, and they love that they're not going to be on it, that they have the Ozobots that's going to be on it. They go all over. Can we go over in that room to do it? Can we go outside to do it? And then when it's done, and after they've evaluated each other or whoever has come in to evaluate it, because we have to do it before a live audience too as well. Then they say, so what are we doing next quarter? And so I always say to them, something a little harder. Like, what are we going to read? And I'll tell them what we're going to read. Well, how can that be even harder than what we've done already? And I'm not going to tell you what we do next. But anyway, that's been when it's done, they love it. The kids, I have kids that have done it. I have one young lady who came over to me yesterday, and she's currently majoring in economics at one of the universities nearby. And she says to me, do you still love me? I said, how do you know I love you? Because when I was in class and she hated coding, but she is an economics major. Wow. And she looks like me. That's not what she was going to do originally. She was going to do art. Nothing wrong with art, but that's what she was going to do. And so she talked to me about her economics class. I had a young man who told me when he said at the end of the year, he came and found me, and he said, I just want you to know that when I came into your class, I was not doing well. You know that. I was failing everybody's class because I was going through a whole lot of stuff. He said, but you gave me a reason to come to school every day. He said, and I just want you to know that I never thought I could, but when I get to school, I am going to, what did he say? He said, I'm going to be an engineer. I said, really? How did English class make you know you want to be an engineer? He said, because of all the projects that we did. You made me have to do so much because we did other projects too. He said, so I realized if I can build a boat in order to show World War II, because I also teach history, if I can build a boat and make water come and make my boat go on for a project that you did, and I can have people do that, and I can code and I can do that, I can be an engineer. I can do anything. Yeah. And So
Yeah. I'm inspired just listening to you. And, I'm a big fan because it's one of those things whereby, I think back to my own days, whereby when I'm learning about science and it's about, just trying to remember information, but not actually using your hands.
Yeah.
And you have kids who are using their hands and some of these things that look like toys that they would be playing with at home.
Yeah.
But these are things whereby they can learn. It is so encouraging and it's so inspiring. And for me, as I'm listening to you, because one of the things that I know somebody, is thinking and saying, our Adventist schools are on the cutting edge using those things that are opening up our students' minds to future jobs.
Absolutely.
So what would you say to a parent who might be, on the edge and maybe thinking about, I don't know, we may have better resources down the road or,
Yeah. So as a principal, I would say to parents, first of all, and this is without STEM, and then I bring STEM into it. I say to them, I want you to count up the hours of the day that your child is in school. 7.25 hours. Okay. So when you count up those hours, and I want you to count up the waking hours that your child is with you. Your child is with somebody else for more hours of the day, waking hours when they're alert than they are with you. Do you really want that person who is with your child more than anybody else during the waking hours to be someone who does not love the Lord or someone who does love the Lord? And then when you look at the emphasis that the NAD, North American Division, is now putting on all things STEM and innovation and project-based learning and across the curriculum, STEM activities and all of everything that we are providing, now that you know that we're doing that, what is it that public schools have over on us? We have teachers who love the Lord. We have teachers who love the children. And we have teachers who have opportunity to training and materials that are more than they have in public school. And then I bring up one more thing. Hold on for a minute. You're in a classroom where the teacher can actually sit down on the floor and pray with your child and touch your child and say, I'm sorry that it happened like that. Can I just talk to the Lord with you about that? Nothing else can beat that. Every day.
Amen. 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 I don't have anything else to add after that. I mean, that is like the cherry on top. So, Betty, Dr. Betty, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And I just pray that God will just continue to bless you and that you will continue to inspire generations of Adventist students to dream higher, things that they may not have thought before that they could do, opening up their eyes to other opportunities of things that they can do. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Bless you.
This is Stephen Brawley, your host. Thanks for listening. Join us again next time as we explore more perspectives in Adventist education.
An Adventist Learning Community Podcast.